Welcome to the series of Relational Database Management System. Myself is Fatima Rafiq, Assistant Professor, Abeda Ramdas Senior College, BCA Department. We have we have started with the series that is for chapter number 5, Crash Recovery. We have completed several topics. We are in the log-based recovery method. We have seen the log-based recovery method, one of the method that is the deferred update method. Today we will see the another method of log-based recovery, which is a immediate database modification technique. In this, database may be updated by some operation before the transaction reaches its commit point. These operations are also recorded on the system log before applied to the databases for recovery purposes. If transaction fail before the commit, then the effect of the transaction must be undone, that is rollback. Hence, undo and redo both are required. This technique is also called as undo redo algorithm. A redo operation is performed for a log which contain the record in the log file ti start and ti commit. Note: undo restore the data item value to the older value, and redo set the data item value to the new value. In the immediate database modification method, what will happen if we have a number of transactions, that is T1 and T2. T1 transaction, when it is running, when it is executing itself, at that time all the write operations will also get executed and the entry is made in the log file. So if something happen and T1 transaction is fail, so the failed transaction has to be recover. So recovery, because write operation is already having its effect in the database item, the modification is already done. So we need to perform the undo operation. Undo means we need to restore the data item before the transaction start. Why? Because we need to make the database in the consistent state. So removing all the effects of the uncommitted transaction will give us the database state as a consistent state. And if something like transaction is executed, it has the entry in the log file which is ti start and ti commit. It means that particular transaction is completed its execution. So we want that effect permanently in the database. So that's why we will perform the redo operation. So redo operation, what the redo operation will do? Redo operation will take the data item to its new value, new updated value. Now we will see the procedure of immediate update method. It is same as above. Before executing write x of ti, a log ti v1 v2 is written on the system. Before transaction, whenever the transaction is actually started, here the procedure is same. It will have the entry as a start entry. Then before the execution of write operation in the ti log, we will be having one entry, that is ti x v1 and v2. Here v1 and v2 are the previous and new values of the data item for which the transaction is changing the value. Like for example, if you consider I have a transaction T1. So transaction T1 is making changes in A, and what is the previous value? Let's take it as 10, and what is the updated value? Let's take it as 20. So this is the way the entry is made in the log file. So what it contain? It contain four things. It contain transaction number, data item, the old value and the new value. If some failure occur, then after crash, if the log entry is containing the entries of ti start and ti commit, both log, then the operation performed is redo. If we find any transaction like T1 and T2 are the transaction which is executing, something happens, something goes wrong, and the transaction is failed. But we find the entry of ti start and ti commit for a T1 transaction. So we need to redo it again. Otherwise, we need to perform undo. Like transaction T2 is there, it just started but it is not committed. So we need to remove the effect of all the transaction T2. So we need to perform the undo operations to resolve the changes made in the database by the write operation. Now these are the entries of this is the example by which we can understand the immediate update recovery method. Again, here I have a transaction T1 and transaction T2. Transaction T1 and T2 are executing serially. Here this is a log file which is maintained by the system, and these are the set of instructions and instruction numbers. Here, consider if the system crashed before completing its schedule. Then we will be having again 3 cases. Case number 1, crash occurred during the write B. So here the transaction is executed, the instruction 1 to 3. Since here we only find the entry TI start, but we didn't find the entry of TI commit. So what will happen? Because here the changes of the write operation is done at the time when the write operation is actually executed, it will not deferred. So the changes which is done by the T1 has to be undone, has to be removed. So that's why we need to perform for the recovery procedure, TI has to be undo. Then the case number 2, crash occur during the write C operation. When we are performing write C operation, so log file is actually executed, instruction number 1 to 6. We have the entry for TI start and TI commit, but for T2 we will be having only entry of TI start. So T1 and T1 transaction, because it is committed, so we need to perform the redo operation for T1. But for a T2 transaction, because it has only the start entry, but it is not having a committed entry in the system log file. So T2, the effect of T2 has to be removed. So we will be removing the all effect, which is the operation of undo. Like undo, we will be performing undo operation for removing all the effects, all the write operations effect done by the transaction T2. Now case number 3, where the crash occur after the write C. For this particular case, I have the entry in the log file TI start and TI commit for a transaction T1, and T2 start and T2 committed for the transaction T2. So the transaction T1 is also committed and the transaction T1 is also committed. So at that time, we need to redo both the transaction, that is T1 and T2, for making the database in the consistent state. So this is the example of immediate update recovery method, how the system log is maintained for it. I hope this is clear to you. If you find any difficulty, write in the comment box. Thank you.